Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello. I am so glad to be here today. And I'm so excited about my guests. So I'm asking you to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And by all means, you need to let people know that we're getting ready to talk about teenagers and all the things that they're going through and how my guest, Dr. Unati Jane, can help them. So let me pull her up right now. How you doing?
Very well, Vera. Oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm so
Thank you so
excited.
much.
You're welcome. And I am so excited that you are here. And let me just tell the audience a little bit about Dr. Unati Jane, founder of Gen Z and You, lives in Fairfax, Virginia, and is a certified youth behavior change specialist and a life coach who helps thousands of individuals between the ages of 12 to 26 and parents. She studied behavior patterns and supports youth with a growth mindset and navigating the challenges of higher education. She is also a motivational speaker, an author, and a TEDx speaker. Her book, A Parenting Journey, is a popular one on Amazon. She helps youth identify and modify counterproductive habits such as procrastination and time management, which often hinder academic success. Additionally, she assists them in enhancing their interpersonal and communication skills, which are crucial for building relationships, networking, and collaborating in any environment. This includes addressing social anxieties, boosting self confidence, and fostering healthy relationships. She equips them with the tools and insights needed to thrive academically, socially, and personally, facilitating their growth and development during this critical phase of their lives. She is a confident, smooth, inspiring speaker who speaks at various summits, podcasts, schools, colleges, and various live events. If you want to know all her offerings, visit her on her website and her social media. Her handle is across as at Dr. Unati Jane. She can also be easily found on the TEDx speakers website, LinkedIn, Google, and social media. Now, she has a master's in philosophy, science, knowledge management, and she has a doctorate in leadership and change with a focus on Generation X. Guess what? She's also a yoga and meditation instructor. So my question is, what don't you do?
I have worked on myself for years and years and years because all the things that I did in my teen years, I don't want the teens to do. So
Well,
I
and
woke
you
up late.
that's awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to give you the floor and let you share with our audience more about Dr. Unati Zane. And I want you to just tell us first of all, how did you develop this passion? Tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up, and what and how you've come to your purpose. How did you determine what your purpose is?
That's a very long story, Vera. You've given me the stage. Now,
Yes,
don't
sir.
expect me to get off it easily. Eh? So, when I was a teenager, I was a wreck. And you will hear it all in my TED Talk. If you go hear my TED Talk, you will get to know my story a little bit more. But in a nutshell, when I was a teenager, I did not have any focus on academics, on mental health, on physical health, or any of the good stuff that a teenager should be focusing on. I was surrounded by friends, and I was in bad company, and I was completely a child who no parent would ever want. Um, and that's the reason that I decided to educate myself with all of the degrees that you see much later in life, because I didn't do any of these in my teenage years. Um, and that's really what drove me to be who I am today, apart from the fact that my son is my driving factor also, other than my own teen years. I'm a single mother, and he was my driving factor. I separated from my ex-husband when my son was 7 years old, and I decided to give him the best upbringing that I could. And that's the reason I started studying youth behaviors, keeping him in mind. And as I studied youth behaviors, I realized that this is what I absolutely enjoy doing. And I don't want any child to go through or become who I was in my teenage years. And that's the reason I started coaching teens. And when did my doctorate and I started studying behaviors and started assisting my own child, I realized that I started attracting a lot of youth for coaching. And that's just when I knew that this was my purpose. Um, and I've been with the World Bank for 20, I was with the World Bank for 25 years. And uh, I've been doing this for over a decade on the side. And then finally, I left the World Bank about a year ago, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this full time. And here I am. I love youth, and I'm very proud to say that the youth love me too.
That's I can imagine. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When somebody says, oh, I have a teenager who is such a disaster and I don't know how you do it, I'm like, you know what? Give him to me. Give her to me. I am happy to coach them because I think youth have so much potential. All
Absolutely.
they need is really a little bit of a uh, guiding light, if I may say so.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because you said that you got into this field because as a single mom, you recognized that it would be beneficial to you in raising your son. And oftentimes, I would imagine that a lot of us that are coaches and involved in working with kids and parents, that's the reason we do it because that's also the reason why I got involved because, raising my son as a single mom, I knew that there were some things I needed to know to better myself and to be a better mother. And so you doing that and also recognizing the things that you went through as a teenager yourself. I have to ask you, so growing up, and you made the comment, you said I was the child that no parent would want. So I want to come back to that.
Now you're digging. Now you're digging, eh?
Yes, I'm digging, I'm digging, I'm digging a little bit, just a little bit. I want to know.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it. My
I
parents are
want,
not listening. I'm okay.
so tell me about your parents and how they supported and encouraged you or not.
So I had great parents, and I still have great parents with God's grace. Both of them are alive and healthy. And there was absolutely no issues with my childhood. I was in a hostel till sixth grade, and then when I came in India, we call it a hill station, so in the mountains. I was in a so my high school, let's say high school, was till 10th grade. So I did my up until my 10th grade, from my sixth grade to my 10th grade, I was in the hostel. And then I came to New Delhi, the capital of India, and did my 11th and 12th grade. So, and when I came So when I was in the hostel, it was a very protected environment. We were in between nuns. It was an all girls hostel, and we were not allowed to meet boys. We were not allowed to go out. We were not allowed to. Nobody was allowed to come in. It was nuns managed by. It was a convent school, and we were super protected. And we could. Our parents came to meet us once in 6 months or once in 3 months. But other than that, we went out for outings. But that's it. So when I came to Delhi and I did my 11th and 12th in Delhi, it was a, a shock for me because I did not know that, for instance, I did not know that girls drink, boys drink. Because I was like, I was so protected as a child that I had no idea what parties were all about, what drinking was about, what smoking was about, all of that stuff. So I was in shock. And here I met and again went to a convent, but this was of course a different convent, and I used to live with my grandparents. And when I saw that life, I was very shaken up. And then I fell into, so all of a sudden it was almost like I was let loose, and I got all the freedom in the world because I had this beautiful apartment, I had a driver, I had a nanny to myself, and I had all the freedom in the world. And my parents used to live in another city. uh, so I was like, I had everything at my fingertips. Now, who wants to go to school? Like, seriously, I'm going to go to school. Seriously, I'm going to open my books and study. So I did wasted all of those years partying, never studied, never put any focus on what do I want to do, where do I want to go. And all of that happened because I had no guidance. Now, I had great parents, but they came when they came and they were not privy to my everyday life. So that's when so when I think back today, I think that teenagers have, if at that point in time I would have got the guidance, I would have turned out to be a completely different human being.
But you might not be doing what you do right now either.
I
So,
might be doing something else, right?
right.
Yes. So
And
I agree
so,
with you. I agree with you. I would not be doing what I'm doing today. So this was my purpose. This was my calling. This is what led me. And but I think there is a lot of scope when a child is between the ages of 10 to 25. There is a lot of scope for a child to learn and become the best version of themselves. Over,
absolutely. And so in essence, you had great parents, but you made the comment they weren't there. You were
they
in,
weren't physically there. My dad used to live in another city. So my mom and dad used to live in another city. I was living there with my grandparents. So
right,
my parents were not there. They were
right,
emotionally very connected to me, but they were
right.
physically not present to see my day-to-day life.
Right. And I can understand that. And that's oftentimes, a lot of times, and you talked about not really having the boundaries, because when children grow up without a lot of boundaries, then they do feel that they can do whatever. and
And
you
I
know,
had no boundaries.
and
I did not know what boundaries were, correct? So, boundaries is such an important topic, and it's so important. Structure and boundaries is so important for our youth as they grow up because they are not in control of their minds and bodies.
absolutely, absolutely. But you can take it to the other end of the continuum where it's so strict and the boundaries are so rigid that a teenager will end up still wanting to go out there and experience because they weren't allowed to because of the rigid. So there's got to be a happy medium.
So there is got to be, so your boundaries keep changing and adjusting as the age changes. And that's whenever I coach parents, that's the one thing that I say. And I just did I just did a webinar for North South Foundation on boundaries, and we had about 450 to 500 people. And each of them questioned, my child does not want to follow the boundaries. What's important is, what are the boundaries? How do you lay the boundaries? How do you communicate the boundaries? And how flexible are you depending on where your child is, what the stage, what stage of life your child is in, how emotional is your child, and what is going on in their life, and how well do you adjust to that boundary, keeping all of these things in mind.
Absolutely. Boundaries is so important. And boundaries are non-negotiable, but guidelines are flexible. So being
Correct.
able to recognize what those boundaries are, and like you said, at different ages and different stages, you're going to have different boundaries. And so
What
being
worked
able
yesterday is not going to work today.
And so what I'd like for you to do, and I'm hoping that we get some feedback from our audience, if you have some questions or you have some things that you want to share or you want Dr. Unati to talk about, put it in the chat so we can have a conversation. But anyway, I do want to talk about boundaries is very important. And I do have someone that just said so. Okay, Jordan. Jordan, she says, very interesting information. Yes, it is. And I'm excited that we're giving it here because it's so important and it's so necessary. And so let's talk about the various types of boundaries. So let's look at now. You work with children from ages 12 to 26.
Correct.
So the boundaries that are imposed upon a 12-year-old or a 12 or 13-year-old may be totally different than the boundaries that are placed on a 15 or 16, 17 or 18-year-old. So
Correct.
let's talk about those boundaries and the difference and the impact because it's so important.
All right. So let's first talk about the milestones. Let's give you certain milestones. Normally, a child hits puberty between 9 to 11, anytime depending on the child. Some hit it at 9, some hit it at 10, some hit it at 11. When the child is about 12, they're extremely dependent on their parents. Between 12 to 15, you'll see a slight shift where they start gaining a little bit of independence, but fights increase between parents and children. Why? Because they're still finding that happy medium between independence and between needing their parents. So they're trying to they're trying to find their safe spot. So you'll see a lot of fights between 12 to 15. And you will need to give your children more attention if they're between 12 to 15. From 15 to 17, you'll see a drastic change where the children start to begin to move away, about 14 and a half to 15. They begin to move away, and peers have more impact on them than you do. So peer pressure increases. Why? Because they are beginning to now lean towards independence. At 16 and a half, they start driving, at least in the United States. So they're beginning to become more and more independent. So your boundaries change. Now, between 15 to 17, when they hit about 16, 16 and a half, you'll begin to see very rapid change. So rapid that you will start seeing changes, weekly changes. And your boundaries at that point in time have to be super adjusting. What worked at 15 is not going to work at 15 and a half, is not going to work at 16. For instance, if you took away their phone at, let's say, 10 o'clock, at 15, not necessarily that's going to work at 16. You will have to change that boundary. 16 and a half, again, you will have to change that boundary. And at 17, your boundaries are completely changed, at
Let's
least
talk
regarding
about
social. Mhm.
let's give some concrete examples here. So boundaries, that what would be a solid concrete boundary for, let's say, a 12 to 13, 14-year old?
A solid concrete boundary for a 12, 13, 14 years old is going to be you're not going to disrespect a parent. Your volume has to be low. You cannot use profanity. You cannot argue in front of people. You want to say something to me, you have to wait for outsiders to leave and then communicate with me. These are some very firm boundaries.
Right. But unfortunately, we have parents that are cursing in front of their kids. And yet we're saying to you can't curse in front of me. that are yelling at their kids, but yet we're saying, you can't yell. Yelling is not permitted. So we've got to model
You got a model
we've
behavior.
got to model the behavior. And we do have someone here that's saying um, that's major information for parents and adults. Yes, it is. So tell them to come check out this show. Send this show out and let people know they need to hear what we're talking about here. This is very important stuff. Very important. And let me calm down.
You're fine. You're
Yeah,
fine.
I need to calm myself. I need to sit on my hands. Okay, because this is such a topic. Yeah, I have an affinity for this conversation because it's so needed. All right, so again, it's important that parents model the boundaries that they're trying to impose on their kids.
So I'm going to ask all the people listening to this. Um, Social media and phone usage is a very talked about topic in teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not wrong, they're absolutely wrong. But I'm going to ask you, as a parent, whoever is listening to this, how aware are you on your phone usage? Track it down. Look at your phone and see how many hours you spend on an average on your phone a day. Are you on it while you're walking? Are you on it while you're driving? Are you on it while you're cooking? Are you on it when you're talking? Are you on it when your child is talking to you? Are you on it when your spouse is talking to you, when your partner is talking to you? I want you to identify all of the times that you're on the phone. And then I want you to compare that with how often is your child on the phone. And you will see your child is mirroring you. If
So,
I am going to put my phone away as a practice during breakfast time,
yes.
lunchtime, dinner time, or I'm going to tell myself in the morning, I am only going to be on my phone for an hour. And while I'm working, I'm going to put it away in the other room so that I don't look at it. I can assure you, I can assure you, your child will follow.
Absolutely. Children grow to
Why?
be what they see.
Why? Because you are your child's biggest mentor.
Yes.
There is nobody in the world they believe to be right more than you. They may say anything. They may cuss you out in front of their friends. They may disrespect you when they're a teenager. But believe me, you are their mentor. So they have it when they're a teenager. They think that whatever you do is right. So they follow suit.
And that is so, people need to understand this. This is so important, so important, so important. Parents are your child's first teacher. And if you are expecting them to adhere to your boundaries, you have got to model the behavior that you want your child to display.
Now,
If
here is
you
another thing that I'm going to say on boundaries. I'm sorry, Vera. I'm going to say one
Go
very
ahead,
important
go
thing on
ahead.
boundaries here.
Preach, girl, preach.
When you are establishing those boundaries, you're saying, I'm establishing my boundaries, but my child is not listening to me. Let's say you're a millennial parent or a Gen X parent. Let's say you're 30, 35, 40. You're expecting that your child is going to behave like a 12-year-old is going to behave like a 35, 40-year-old and listen to you in one go? How? So, the answer is not that I'm repeating myself. The answer is yes, I need to repeat myself. And how calm am I when I'm repeating myself so that my child gets the boundary? But if I'm going to yell and I'm going to scream and repeat that boundary, the child is going to tune me out.
And not only is your child going to tune you out, but studies have shown that yelling at your children cause all kinds of issues, depression, anxiety, headaches, stomach aches. physical aches. Yelling is so detrimental to your child. And oftentimes, what I say to parents is think about it. How are you when someone's yelling at you? How does it impact you when you're being yelled at? And then amplify it in your child. And I don't think it matters what age your child is. If all you do is communicate by yelling at them, especially teenagers, you're not going to get anything done.
Now, I'm going to ask you another question. If you're in the audience or you're watching the replay, I'm going to ask you another question. How many people here struggle to express themselves in relationships, at work, or to their loved ones? Most of us. You know why? People struggle to express emotions when they have gone through emotional neglect in their childhood, when they have not been heard, when they have not been allowed to express emotions. So when they grow up, they don't understand or recognize emotions in themselves or in their relationships, which is why so many adults end up with failed relationships, which is why so many people are there and feeling empty from the inside because they have been emotionally neglected and they are unable to find what is wrong. Why are they feeling empty? Because they don't know how to recognize emotion. So have your boundaries. Allow your child to express with
Yes,
boundaries, with
yes,
respect. There is a very
yes.
fine line between fear and respect. You don't want to raise your child in fear.
No,
You want to raise your child so that your child respects you, not fears you.
not only respects you, but feels comfortable enough with you to share and communicate with you, knowing that you, as a parent, you're not going to criticize, you're not going to condemn, you're not going to yell at them, but you're going to listen. You may not agree with what they're saying, but allowing them to express. I grew up in the era where kids were to be seen, not heard. And that has caused a lot of grown up trauma and people not being able to communicate because we weren't allowed to do that as a child. But those times have changed. Kids need to be able to express, and we need to teach them how to express, not by
And they
yelling.
will express the way you express.
Exactly.
So if you're calm, if you're put together, if you'd respond instead of reacting, they will express exactly the same way.
And just think what a wonderful world we would have. It would, I mean, can you imagine people communicating in that way? Not yelling at each other, not
Mhm.
attacking each other, not belittling each other, but having bona fide conversations where people are heard and listened to,
Mhm.
and then expressing how we feel, having that back and forth where kids can express how they feel. And parents may say, I clearly understand what you're saying. I may not agree with what you're saying, and we may not do what you're suggesting we do, but I hear you.
That's
And
it.
I appreciate the fact
And
that you
that's
felt comfortable enough to come talk to me.
and really that's all the child needs is to be heard, not a solution. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to give them what they want. They'll probably pass within no time, in 90 seconds, the emotion will pass.
Yes,
And then you can do whatever you want
exactly.
as long
Exactly.
as the child
But
is heard.
right, as long as that child is heard,
That's it.
they want to be heard. I am
It will
convinced. I am. Go ahead.
it will completely change the way they will address their relationships when they grow up, the way they show up in the workforce, the way they deal with their
Bullies.
uh, bullies, the way deal with their colleagues, the way they deal with their friends, family, and the world in general.
I, I'm telling you, this stuff is so real. And the thing is, it's simple stuff. But the problem is
Simple stuff
so
is hard.
many, you're right. And so many times we as parents, we're coming into parenting with our own unresolved issues. And studies show that 64% of parents that have unresolved issues have those issues because of how they were raised.
Not sometimes, 90% of the times. We're coming in with our own issues. And that's what conscious parenting is all about. How many times are we trying to live our dreams through our child?
That's another thing.
Yeah,
And you know, when you consider 80, close to 80 to 90% of kids who graduate from college never work in the field that they graduated from. And the reason is oftentimes, and I grew up, I mean, I was a non-traditional student. So I was in school with a lot of young kids. And I would ask them, what made you decide on this particular field? And I cannot tell you, doctor, how many times I would hear things like, well, everybody in my family has always done this, or this is what my parents expect me to do, or I don't know, I just thought this is what I wanted to do. And also, I can't tell you how many kids graduate wanting to do one thing, but their parents are hell bent on them doing something else. And that
yes.
causes stress. I remember talking to a young girl. She was graduating from UK and she was so distraught because her family expected her to graduate and immediately start working in the family business. But that's not what she wanted to do. She
Yeah.
wanted to go to New York and pursue a career in fashion. I believe it was fashion. I know she wanted to go to New York and do whatever in New York. And I said to her, I said, well, you know, talk to your parents and give them, say to them, look, let me go to New York and do what I need to do. If it doesn't work out in a year, then I'll come back and work with in the family business. I said, talk to them and see if they will agree to that, because I think it's so unfair for parents to impose upon their kids the life they dreamt of, the life they wanted. It's unfair. It's not right. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
You're good. You're good.
Oh my. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. So boundaries are very, very important. I also have a book. Can we talk about the book now,
Yes. Let
Vera,
me.
or would you
Yes.
want to
Let
wait
me.
a while?
No. Let's talk about the book. Let me pull it
So here
up.
is my book. This is a parenting journey. It is on Amazon and it's in the Fairfax. I'm very proud to say that it's also in the Fairfax County Libraries now in Virginia, and we're looking to grow it and move it in every library in Virginia. So if you don't want to buy it, you can go ahead and pick up a library copy. This book is written from the perspective of an immigrant parent, myself, and a lot of the concepts that we bring to the table as immigrant parents. The book begins with my journey, so it connects you to me, understanding where I come from and why I do what I do, and what did I go through as an immigrant, raising a child who was very much an American citizen, giving him Indian values as well as American values. And then it addresses all of the things that prevent um, your child to um, stay close to you as they grow up. It addresses respect, comparison, empowerment, self love, the impact of self love, why parents need to get to know themselves so they can come from a place of conscious parenting. And self love is not massages and nails. It's a lot more than that, and that's one full chapter on that. The impact judgment has on it, the impact control has on your children, the why we need to develop trust in the relationship in long term. How can that impact your relationship as they grow older to become 24, 26, 30? How important is acknowledgement, compliments, praise while they're growing up to improve their self esteem. And then accountability? How do you create those accountability measures where, and my child wouldn't stop calling me, the accountability measures where you can stay close to your child and bridge that generational divide that you continuously feel with a child as the child grows up.
Beautiful.
So I urge everybody to go ahead, buy this book, or go pick up a copy from the library and read it. It's very informational. If you're an immigrant, not only from India, but immigrant from any other country, a developing nation, you will find a wealth of anecdotes in this book. I hope you enjoy it, and if you like it, I would urge you to kindly leave a review on Amazon for me, please. Thank you.
Yes. And this book, I'm telling you, it's like a parent's guide to raising healthy, positive children. And I'm convinced that when we raise our children to be confident and self-assured, then they will not deal with bullies. They will be empowered to speak up when they see that they're being bullied. They will be empowered to ignore what they see on social media and block those individuals that are trying to impose upon them. And I've got a commercial I need to play, so I will be right back. I got a couple.
For real, take your business, any business, to the next level by joining us at the Global Awaken Trinity Summit. 4 days of opportunities and inside info you don't want to miss, as over 35 celebrity speakers will be live in person to teach you exactly how to make your business take off, grow, and thrive. From marketing tool secrets to the best ways to build relationships, partnerships, and make true connections. Founder Kessa Gooden is putting on this once-in-a-lifetime event, the Global Awaken Trinity Summit VIP Gala and Yacht Mastermind, February 29th through March 3rd, 2024 in Miami, Florida. Registration starts at 9 sharp each day. Bring your business partner, your team, your friends, anyone and everyone who wants real success. For tickets, call 404-992-3971. Tickets will not last, so call now. 404-992-3971. Or visit us online at globalawakenedevents.com, and we will see you there. As a business pro, you know the way to make real money is to have a big, qualified audience listen carefully to your every word. Step up and speak at the Global Awaken Trinity Summit, and that's exactly what you'll have. It's a 4-day event aimed exclusively at those who want to make their business, any business, take off, grow, and thrive. The best will be teaching and inspiring, and you should be one of them. From marketing tool secrets to the best ways to build relationships and make connections. Founder Kessa Gooden is putting on this once-in-a-lifetime event, the Global Awaken Trinity Summit VIP Gala and Yacht Mastermind. Registration starts at 9 sharp each day, February 29th through March 3rd, 2024 in Miami, Florida. To speak or for tickets, call 404-992-3971. Spaces are filling up, so call now. 404-992-3971. Or visit us online at globalawakenedevents.com, and we will see you there.
This is a great way for speakers and coaches and authors to get their word out to hundreds of people. Thousands of people are going to be at this event, and they're having a yacht mastermind. So if you are interested in being one of those speakers, call Kessie at 404-992-3971. Call her and tell her you heard it on the Vera Thomas Show. Or go to globalawakenedevents.com and you'll see all the many, there's some heavy hitters that are going to be speakers at this event. Why not be one of them? So call Kessie at 404-992-3971. All right. Now, back to this important conversation that we're having here.
So I also have a TEDx talk, which I did back in April, and my TEDx talk is called "How to Move from Control to Connection." And in this, I address 5 cornerstones, which are extremely important to stay connected to your child, to ensure that as your child grows up, you make that connection stronger and stronger by letting go of control. So 1, very important to create space for healthy conversations. What does it do? It actually tames defiance and it builds connection. Now, defiant behavior typically peaks during two childhood turning points. One is around terrible twos, and another is around 12. So, if we create space for healthy conversations during these years where defiance is so rooted, and we control our reactions and we create dialogues, we ensure that we come from a place of response versus reaction, and your conflicts and conversations, they begin to solidify your relationship. So that's one, create space for healthy conversation, first cornerstone. The second one is the power and the choice cornerstone. I can give you my example. uh, when my son turned 17, like every other teenager, he was addicted to social media. And while up until 16 and a half, he used to put the phone in the room next to mine. When he turned 17, he became even more independent. So until I figured out, what do I do now? I was completely confused. So I gave him the power and the choice cornerstone, which is, I told him he could keep the phone, but he needed to show responsibility by waking up on time and taking the bus to school. Now, if he missed the bus to school, he would pay for his ride. Very simple. I gave him power and I gave him a choice. He struggled for a week. He lost all his pocket money. And the following Monday, he slept on time and woke up and took the bus after 1 week of missing school
And losing money.
and losing money. It was the power and choice. He felt powerful, he took the choice, and he built connection with me.
And
So, power and choices are very important for.
and I want to I just
Uh-huh.
I want you to give all of these, but I want to touch on power of choice because
Power and choice.
power
And
and choice.
choice.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you said that. So let me put it in here right. Power and choice. And what this also teaches is responsibility, because oftentimes, look at how many adults don't accept responsibility for the choices that they make. And being able to enable your child to make those choices and understand the power and the choice. You have the power to make these decisions, but the choices are also yours, of the consequences of those decisions and those choices. Love it. Yes, and that was something I really ingrained in my son at an early age. You cannot wait until a child is a now. Trust me, Dr. Unati did not wait until her son was 17 years old to start talking about you got power and choice. No, she started this at an early age. All right, go ahead.
Then we move on to non judgment and comparison. How many times do we catch ourselves telling our children, do you see the neighbor's child? He's so good in sports. He's so good in academics. She's so good in gymnastics. Why can't you be like her? Why can't you be like him? They do so much in the hope that we're giving them motivation.
But it's
We're
not.
actually doing completely the opposite.
Right. And also when parents do that with each, with the other siblings. If there's more than one sibling in the house, and parents are saying, "Why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you be more like your brother?" It makes that child feel less than. It doesn't help them to be a better person. It makes them feel like crap. Okay, go ahead.
At the very root of anxiety, depression, low self esteem is comparison. So, very important to check your judging and comparing propensities.
Yes, absolutely.
Fourth one is the respect cornerstone. Now, respect is a two-way traffic. We can't say that we're a parent, we need respect, but we're not going to give respect.
Right. And being able to apologize to your child when you know you've been wrong.
Respect is equally important to a child as it's important to a parent. If you give respect to a child, you will get respect from a child.
Amen.
And lastly is the trust cornerstone. Establishing trust begins with keeping your promises. So if you promise your child at a very young age that I'm going to come to your game and you don't show up, the child loses faith in you. And this continuously keeps happening, you become untrustworthy. And then what happens? They feel neglected, unvalued, unimportant. Their self-esteem drops, their confidence levels drops. On the other hand, if you manage to keep your promise, you establish credibility. And then if you continue to keep your promises at a younger age, this credibility pays off when they become teens because you've built that trust. You worked those 10, 12 years. So now when they're a teenager, you're already a very trustworthy person from them where they feel very safe with you.
Absolutely. And the thing is, parents, you cannot wait. You cannot wait until a child is 12, 13, 14, 15 years old to try to implement this stuff. It starts at an early age. You got to start at an early age. Keep your and if you are the parent that's not in the home on a consistent base, keep your promise. All right, go ahead. I really have to control myself. I really do.
You're
All right.
fine. Your
Anyway,
passion speaks through you. So you're doing beautifully well. I wish everybody was as passionate as you are.
thank you. All right.
So between I've tried to address all elements between the book and my TED Talk. I urge everybody to go and hear, like my TED Talk, comment on my book, give me feedback, um, and follow these 5 cornerstones. And you'll get a little more detail in my TED Talk where I address these 5 cornerstones. Um, it's very easy to say a teen keeps their door closed. A teen does not want to talk to me. There is a lot that you can hear in silence. Silence speaks volumes.
Yes.
You need to stop and hear the silence because your children, your teenagers need you more than you need them. They're super confused. Think about it. This generation is born with a phone in their hand. They've seen the war, they've seen pandemic, they've seen Black Lives Matter, they've seen Trump as the president, they've seen the first black president, they've seen um, I can't even begin to. I mean, there's so many things that they've seen which no other generation has seen.
Right. The good, the bad, the ugly, the hate, the love, the indifference. They've
Gun
seen it
violence.
all. Gun violence. I mean, and pray for these
Look what's happening in Miami.
inane,
In not in Maine. Look
inane.
what's
It's
happening in Maine. Every second day you hear somebody shot this one at school. There was a shooting in this college. They're seeing all this. Can you imagine their anxiety levels? At a time like this, we are standing here judging them, comparing them, putting academic pressure on them, creating social anxiety, creating body image issues for them. So, here is how I will close off, Vera. And I tell 90% parents this: I can coach your child through you. If you do your inner work and you come from a place of consciousness, half of your issues that your child faces as a teenager will go away because
amen.
you are your child's safe space. So
Yeah.
work on yourself. Identify your triggers. Identify where are you coming from? What are your limitations? What is your baggage that you're putting on your child? And you'll be able to see clearly what your child needs. Very, very grateful that I was invited on the show by Vera. I do this with a passion. I'm a parenting coach and I'm certified and I study behaviors on a daily basis. I am And I coach children and parents on 52 different concepts. So if you have a child who you think has great potential and can go from good to great, reach out to me. I will support you and your child and help them grow into things that, into concepts that will make them a holistic individual.
And I'm
We
telling you,
say, just one last thing I'm going to say. How many times do we parents say our teens are so ungrateful? I want you to go back home tonight and think, how often do we sit down and talk about gratitude to our children? What is gratitude? We How many times do you tell your child you need to wake up in the morning, open your eyes, and the first thing you need to say is, I'm glad for the sunlight. I'm glad that I'm breathing. I'm healthy. I have food on the table. I have parents. I'm alive. Gratitude turns what you have into enough.
yes,
And we need to constantly tell them this, because you telling them once is not going to impact them. Their
no,
brains are not so wired.
absolutely, absolutely.
So these are the kind of concepts that we work on. The 52 different concepts includes attitude, compassion, gratitude, self-talk, self-confidence, self-esteem. We have multiple such topics. So if you want your child to go from good to great, reach out to me. Coaching is not about your child struggling. So parents, please do not think mental health is a stigma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me say, hi, Raul. It's good to see you. Thank you. And while Dr. Yunata works with teenagers and their parents, I work with the younger kids so that when they get to her age, she's able to be more pliant with them because parents have learned that sometimes their own unresolved issues are the reason that their kids are the way that they are. And so reach out to both of us and also support my show. I'm asking you to please support my show by going to Cash App, $ in still great, or Venmo at BT1117. I pulled up the wrong one because my PayPal is kind of acting crazy right now. So again, Venmo at VThomas1117 or Cash App. And like, subscribe, and support this show. And Dr. Unati, I appreciate you being here. What you do is so important. We have got to make a difference in our children's lives because bullying and all the things that they're seeing in society is impacting on them greatly. And parents need to be equipped to know what to do. If your child is staying in their room and not wanting to talk to you, hear the silence. There's a reason for them doing that. If their behaviors have changed and you don't understand why, you might want to call Dr. Unati.
Can I just mention some red flags?
Yes.
If your teenager is closed in a room and does not want to come out at all, is constantly on the phone, is constantly playing video games, does not want to talk to their friends, um, is constantly um, on the dining table, refuses to talk, gives you yes and no answers, um, sleeps in too much, sleeps too little, eats too much, eats too little. All of these are red flags. This means your child is going through something. We need to figure out what it is. It could be something as simple as peer pressure, high school pressure, academic pressure, grades are dropping. It could be anything. It doesn't mean your child has mental health issues. It means that your child is a teenager and your child needs help.
Yes. Yes. So please, please, please hear what we're saying. Share this show with other people because some powerful things were said here today. And listen, we do this because we love you. We do this because we love your children. We do this because we know that society has got to change. And we've got to be the change we want to see.
Yes.
All right, I do have another commercial. And then I will be right back. Let's see, where is, okay,
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because, Mama knows what you need.
Mama knows what you need for
Absolutely.
products, and not only with these products, but Mama knows what you need. And so,
Exactly.
and these products are for all ethnic groups, for children, for women, for men. So you can go to mamaknowsproducts.com because Mama knows what you need. All right. Now, listen, I appreciate you so much. And again, let me put her information down so that you can be in touch with her. Check out her TEDx talk. And again, if you need to call her, you can reach her at 202-615-7739. Or you can go to her website, Gen Z
And you.
GenZandYou.com, or email her at jen@unati@gmail.com. So listen, this has been a great show. And
You're awesome. You're awesome.
thank you. Let me pull up her book one more time so that you guys can recognize it on Amazon. And it's in some libraries in Virginia, and it's going to be in libraries all over the country. Yes, it is. We're claiming that.
Yes.
So
We're
listen,
claiming that.
we're claiming it all over the country. So listen, God bless you all. And with that, I do want to encourage you guys to, check us out. Check us out. You can check me out at bit.ly/Vera Thomas, okay, for Instilling Greatness. Or you can check out Dr. Unati. I'm telling you, we know what you need. We're
Yeah.
mamas that know
And
what you need.
I'm soon going to be introducing group coaching classes for parents as well as for teens. And with the group coaching classes for teens, we're going to divide them into multiple ages. So, for instance, we will have coaching from 12 to 15, 15 to 17, and 17 to 21. And then there will be a separate group which will be for parents. And you can sign up monthly, you can do a drop in, or you can sign up 6 months, or you can do a yearly, and you can pick the topics that you want to show up on. So stay tuned for those. They should be launched very soon.
So call her at 202-615-7739. Call her. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We
Vera.
will be talking. And please hold on so that I can talk to you at the end. With that, everyone, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Okay. Oh, okay. I was pressing on the wrong thing. I was wondering. Okay.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk